This thing on?
If you like rock music, punk, metal or blues, then you've come to the right place, because we like it too. It's Soundcheck. It's Soundcheck. It's Soundcheck. Check, check, check.
I love it. Great.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soundcheck, the rock and roll and alternative music podcast here at Central Michigan Life. I am Michael Livingston. As always, joining me is
Andrew Mullen.
And today, we got the most special guest back on the podcast. It's been a hot minute since he's back on. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, I am Elio. If you remember the terrible first season and a couple second season episodes.
First season, Elio.
I was a host with Andrew. I was Andrew's foil for most of it, and now I'm back as a guest.
Yeah, I took over your position as Andrew's foil, and now it is still the fire and ice dynamic. It's
I forgot about the fire.
Nothing has changed since you've left, Elio.
Oh,
You've done a very good job. The only thing I could say that it's lacking in a little bit of those nice transitions that I would throw in there.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. You were the
transitions
king.
aren't what they once were, Michael. Yes, I don't know.
Okay, well, here's a transition. We have housekeeping to do. You can follow us on Twitter at SCheckOfficial. We sometimes post on there. You can follow me at Michael C. Live.
Follow me at Andrew Mullen 4. What about you, Elio?
I don't put anything on Twitter. Sorry.
So,
No.
All right. Hey.
Fair enough. You mentioned, Michael, housekeeping. Well, I think we should burn down the house and move on to our topic of today. What do you think?
LEOC, we got this, man. We got
They're very good. They're very good. It was good.
All right. So, yeah, if you can't tell, we're going to try to redo Talking Heads if you want the backstory. We had Elio on a couple seasons ago to do a whole discography run, and the entire episode got lost. So we're going to redo that again. But, Talking Heads is such a huge band with so many hits through, a large span of time. Why not just pick the deep cut stuff you've never heard before? So we're going to kind of do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to go around the horn. We're going to give 3 underrated deep cuts for all of you to listen to. And Ben's not joining us today, who is a Talking Heads fanatic, just because he couldn't make it. But Ben, if you can hear us, go ahead and edit your voice in whenever we screw up a fact or something like that. So
You can put in your favorite Talking Heads song, Ben, right here. I'll leave you the slot. Go ahead. Put it right here, Ben.
And with that, we will go ahead and start.
Well, first, Michael, I always interject because I'm always interested in hearing the backstories of the bands we talk about here through the lens of listeners, particularly us and our guests. And I'm sure we talked a lot about why we're Talking Heads fans. Although when we recorded the episode, I was a Talking Head newbie. I really didn't know their material before. So since then, I feel like I've had a great deal of experience with Talking Heads. I love the band now, as I know you two do as well. But Elio, I would venture to guess, maybe you'll dispute this, Michael, that you're going to be the biggest Talking Heads fan sitting here. If I remember correctly, they're one of your favorite bands. If that's still the case, kind of tell us why that is and how you got into the Talking Heads as well.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm the biggest Talking Heads fan. I really enjoy their music, but I am not entirely sure of any of their history or anything too much. So I think that kind of takes me down a peg, unfortunately. I mean, I think at one point I knew about them and what happened in the band, but then since then I've had to make room in my brain for other stupid things.
What more Scott Stapp facts, probably.
like extra Scott Stapp albums and Scott Stapp facts. Like he was saved by T.I. after jumping from a balcony. Stuff like that. But so let me see. I think that the first time I ever heard Talking Heads was maybe in middle school. My mom had bought the live album. I'm trying to think of which one it was. It wasn't it's the one from like the motion picture where it's a movie where he's in like a big gray suit and
Not making sense.
Yeah.
there we go, and it keeps inflating. So she had that album playing in the car for quite a while when she got it, and I just remember. I know everybody likes to say, "Oh, I never heard anything like it," but I mean, honestly, I don't know of any other songs that sound like Talking Heads, and I can't really find anything else that is similar. I mean, I know that there are definitely bands that kind of try and do what Talking Heads does with kind of like the over exaggerated vocals. Like they have very unique vocals. They incorporate a million different instruments in there and everything. But I mean, it really was like, I had never heard anything like it, and it just kind of blew my mind, especially the energy that came off of that album. Like, I don't know how much you guys listen to that one at all, because I find myself when I listen to Talking Heads, that's kind of like my default. For a lot of the songs on there, like it's pretty much got all their hits. So I mean, like Psycho Killer, Burning Down the House, Once in a Lifetime. Like if I listen to any versions, it's off of that album, just because that was the first version of those songs that I heard, and just kind of like falling in love with them. And then from there, it was just listening to them constantly. And then I think it was in college, my mom had bought a bunch of Talking Heads album at like a resale shop or something and mailed them to me. And just, I don't know, just kind of, I found more of their songs. And I think I still have I Zimbra in my car right now.
Like, yeah. I mean, that live album, Stop Making Sense, is regarded as one of the greatest live albums of all time. I mean, you're talking about energy. I mean, that whole thing is just full of energy, and giving it all from, David Byrne, Tina Weymouth, the entire band. You can tell that they're in that show. That's the only thing they're caring about in that moment throughout the entire thing. I love that.
It's like one of those performances where you know that they gave it literally every ounce that they had. And I mean, I don't know. I've definitely watched a lot of other Talking Heads, like live, them playing live, and I don't know if I've ever found any that are that spectacular or that energetic and amazing as that album.
And if I can throw my 2 cents in, I mean, obviously, sure, the album's one thing, but you also have a very famous concert film with that as well. And like Elio said, he's wearing like a suit that's like 2 sizes too big for him. It's ridiculous. He literally wiggles it around like a noodle or something, like a lot of times when he's dancing. And David Byrne has just got this crazy, almost deadpan style, like charisma when he's like going, kind of like performing, and it's great. I have really grown to appreciate that album since we first recorded this episode, Talking Heads, and it's definitely probably one of the greatest live albums ever. So, yeah. Michael, what's kind of your history with the Talking Heads?
Yeah, I mean, filling in the gap with the a little bit of history about the band. I mean, just from looking it up right away, this is a mid-70s band, started in New York. So that puts you right in the CBGB's art rock scene that would later, birth so many great bands that we've come to appreciate, that just push the boundaries for rock and funk and everything of that nature. And Talking Heads to this day still stands as one of the great new wave bands. For a quick lineup, you got David Byrne, who we've already mentioned, on vocals, very charismatic on stage, but very sort of ominous off stage. And then you
eccentric.
Eccentric. That's a good word for it. Then you have Tina Weymouth on bass, one of my favorite bassists of all time. I'll say that right now. Chris Franz on drums, and of course Jerry Harrison on keyboards and guitar. The first time I heard Talking Heads was probably the song either Naive Melody or Burning Down the House, one of those hits. And I couldn't appreciate it at the time because I'm in 8th grade and I'm in like my metal phase, Like, what is this funk
What's this garbage
Yeah, what
playing?
is this garbage I'm hearing right
It doesn't
now?
have heavy distortion and banging on drums.
No, why would I want that? Dancing? I'm an eighth grade angsty kid. I can't dance. No, but I come to college and I get to know. If you remember from that first time we tried Talking Heads, I was kind of a newbie as well. I knew some of their stuff because my girlfriend's really into it, but that episode taught me a lot about the Talking Heads. So now I'm going into this a super fan, diehard super fan. I love True Stories, David Byrne's movie. I love following all of his projects he's done since, including the album he did with St. Vincent.
Yeah,
Love that.
that's a great record.
Yeah, I would consider myself a true Talking Head super fan now. But what about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I can definitely say I'm a big fan of them. I don't know if I would call myself a super fan like you, Michael. When it comes to new wave, I have a particular fondness for the B-52s, which we've done an episode on. I definitely recommend checking that back in our archives. But that's my favorite, new wave band. But Talking Heads are great too. I think they you kind of inhabit this dance rock space and kind of the art rock scene. If you look at a lot of like the big new wave bands of the time, the Police kind of combined that stuff with with reggae and ska bit as well. B-52s, they kind of combined their art rock weird dance weirdness with the old like 60s beach music, and Elvis Costello was basically art rock Buddy Holly, but worked. And Talking Heads was the dance rock, and it's the best way I can put it. And they have such a unique blend of sounds, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit that it took me so long to get into the Talking Heads until we did that episode. I know, Michael, you were like kind of there, but not fully. Elio, you were fully there. I was just finally exploring them. I think I'd heard Life During Wartime when I was like, in high school, and didn't. I remember kind of liking it, but it didn't hit me very well because, and I'm blaming Jello Biafra for this one.
They didn't wear leather jackets and spikes on their shoulders.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was the fact that Jello Biafra the Dead Kennedys did a song called Pull My Strings. It was like this famous live recording, live song they did at like a new wave show, and they totally like epically, I should say, destroyed new wave, and like everything was going on, like like how rock radio was at the time, and how artists were just doing stuff for the money. A lot of it was. I'm not doing the song justice. Definitely go listen to that song, but it kind of like gave me this weird like head stance saying new wave is terrible. I hate it, grr. And then later on, I would go on to realize, oh, wait, but the B-52s and the Police, two bands I really love, are considered new wave. So I kind of realized how stupid I was, but I still needed that extra push to get into the Talking Heads, and that was you two. And now I love them. I think they're a great band. We're going to talk about some of my favorite deep cuts here shortly. And the one thing I will say, as you will learn through my taste with the Talking Heads, I tend to be a bit of a contrarian, where some of their more maligned records are the ones that I actually enjoy the most. But we'll get to that when that comes. So, do you two have anything else you want to say before we jump into our picks?
I think we're ready. Let's talk some deep cuts. I think we allow our guests to go first here today.
Right. So let's see. Yeah, like Andrew mentioned, we're talking about some deep cuts, which are songs that don't usually come up when people talk about Talking Heads. And I unfortunately, I think that two of my songs maybe people do know if you know the Talking Heads, because I know that I definitely hear one of them on the radio every now and then. So, but I will start with Animals, which is one of my picks from Fear of Music. So the reason that I like Animals so much is, I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. For whatever reason, to me, it sounds like some mad fever dream that David Byrne had of him just having like this crazy like stress panic attack in the middle of the night, and waking up from it realizing that humans are terrible for the world, and they're terrible for each other. And that's, to me, what the song sounds like, because the song is literally him talking about animals and how he hates animals because they shit on the ground, they ignore everything, they're rude, they eat and destroy everything is pretty much that song. And his vocals sound really manic in it, where right at the beginning he's as he starts singing, it just kind of sounds like he's almost in a panic state, trying to tell you like why he hates these animals and everything, which is kind of funny. And then beyond the lyrics and the vocals, I think that the music of it is pretty simple in that it's a simple guitar riff that kind of repeats itself and drones on, kind of giving you like this repetitive nature. And then the drums are super simple. And then when the chorus hits, he kind of brings in a couple different vocal tracks into it, where it almost sounds a little eerie to me, where like these different voices are coming in. So I just really enjoy this song because I don't think that I've ever met anyone else who likes Talking Heads that really likes this song, or that will say, "Oh yeah, Animals, it's a great song," or anything like that. But it's just, to me, it's really interesting because it is, like I said, it's like a manic fever dream that David Byrne had.
Nice. Well, let's give it a quick listen.
I'm there, and that's a fact. I found out, and I'm gonna store it up. I'm gonna think, but pretty smart. Shit on the ground, see in the dark. Wander around a crazy dog, make a mistake in the parking lot. Always bumping into things, always let you down, 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 down. I almost think.
You were right about the manic nature of that song, Elio, especially that intro. It's like, it really jerks you around, but it does sort of bring you back to reality with those like kind of bright guitar chords. But I was not expecting right out of the gate like this kind of ferocity that David Byrne brought to that vocal passage.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I definitely spent some time like this off of Fear of Music, and I apologize. I think I called the album I Zimbra, but the album that I have in my car is Fear of Music. But this song, like the first time I heard it, it really struck me just because I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? And I've definitely like tried to find like what the meaning of this song is, and I've never been able to find anything of like what David Byrne has ever said that there's a meaning for. But that's why I think that like he's just equating people to animals. Like I think he had like some crazy fever dream where he realized how terrible people are to everything and everyone. And that's what this song is about, which I find really funny. So I don't know. I just really like this song.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I don't know if this is particularly one of my favorites from Fear of Music, but it's definitely a quirky one at that. I really like kind of talk about the manic energy of the song. I know you both mentioned that. I think it's in the chorus where, like, in between his lines, has that weird, like, guitar goes. It's almost like the song's mocking you in a weird way. It's kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a showcase of the weirder side that this band likes to go to at times. So, yeah, really fun song.
Andrew, I believe you are next, my man.
Sweet. Okay, so I mentioned before that I'm kind of a contrarian with what my favorite records are, and I kind of like to, from the Talking Heads, and I kind of wanted to highlight that in some way. here. In fact, actually, my first song comes from the last Talking Heads studio album, Naked, which I know is a pretty maligned record generally within Talking Head, within circles of Talking Heads fans. And I mean, on one hand, I get it. It isn't their most, I wouldn't say it's inaccessible, but it's definitely one of their least, probably one of their albums has like the least direction to it. It almost has a bit of like a White Album vibe to it, and that there's not really one consistent sound with it, which is honestly one of the reasons I really like it. I know it doesn't make for the most cohesive listening experience, but the collection of songs that are there with Naked, I think, are overall pretty strong. I don't know, like I don't know if it's just kind of me not getting into Talking Heads later in life, but I just, something about me always grabs me going back to Naked. I know the album artwork itself is dreadful. It's like this chimp on the back of this, between like this gaudy like picture frame. It's horrible, but most of the songs in there I think are really good. And in fact, my first song is the opener to this record, Blind, which it's one of the reasons I really like Naked. It's like if Talking Heads went, okay, let's look at other artists and try to make songs to sound like that, but also the Talking Heads. So by that, I mean, Blind sounds like as if Talking Heads were playing on a James Brown song. Like you have so many, like with the horns and kind of the weight and everything, it sounds like a James Brown soul track, but David Byrne's on there. It's so bizarre, and I love it so much because it almost like it keeps calling back to that, to like, oh, this is James Brown, but it's not like distracting. It's not like, it's not like, oh God, this sounds like a James Brown ripoff. No, because it has those Talking Head eccentricities to it. Kind of the weird licks, David Byrne's kind of odd vocal delivery. I really love this track, and I want to play that. And let's see if you guys can hear what I'm talking about.
Talk about I guess like the inaccessibility of this album. It is one of their stranger albums. Oh, that's for sure. But I mean, it is always I've always wondered why people don't like it as much as their other ones, because I mean the music on it, this album's fantastic. And I mean this, like your first track there, Blind, is a perfect example. It's just a perfect song.
I have a Naked track on mine as well, Andrew. So I definitely agree with you. These tracks, the album, you see that artwork and you're like, this is the Talking Heads meeting their downfall. They're out of ideas. They're breaking up as a band, and they need that solo kind of atmosphere in order to, make the rest of their ideas work. But that's not really the case once you get past the negative stigma. I like your analogy about the White Album. I really think that could be the Talking Heads White Album.
Yeah, it's not like an hour and a half long, no, but yeah, it is genre-wise. Yeah, it kind of takes inspiration from all over the place. And I have another Naked track we'll get to in a second. We roll back to my turn, but one last thing I will say, the only thing with this track I really wish it had more of like an excitable, like David Byrne vocal performance. He does sound a little flat in the song. I'm not saying it to go full like soul. I have to like do a James Brown impression or anything. No, but it would have been nice to hear him put a little more energy into his performance. But otherwise, I think this is a really strong track.
So what drew you to this one though? Like what's the?
I mean, because I remember when we were. I don't want to keep bringing it up, an episode that never happened. But I will say when we were researching, when I was researching for our first the Talking Heads episode we did like a year or so ago, I remember putting this on, not kind of like not really sure what to expect based on the album artwork, and I know Michael later on said, he said he didn't like Naked at the time, so I was like, I don't know what this is, but when I first put it on, I was like, I swear to God, like I literally looked up to see if this is a James Brown song. I didn't know that they covered. I was like, what? This sounds so cool. And then it kept going and it kept like, throwing out new ideas and new stuff. Like, wow, this is like a really like oddly inspired record. I mean, I don't like everything off Naked. I think this is a song called Totally Nude that sounds like they're trying to do a Jimmy Buffett track, and no one should ever aspire to do anything like Jimmy Buffett because Jimmy Buffett's terrible. But I don't know. I just got really excited about what they were doing with this record. So Blind, for just the energy and the kind of the different tone that the Talking Heads brought to that track. That's what I really like about it.
Yeah. Don't mind if I give my first pick here?
Please do.
Yes.
So I am going to first bring on a song from Remain in Light, which could be a little controversial because, I mean, Remain in Light is the critics' favorite. It's regarded as their best album besides Speaking in Tongues. Both of these have great hits on them. Both of them have such memorable songs. It's really hard to actually pick out a song that's somewhat underrated or deep from Remain in Light. But when I think Remain in Light, I think, Cross-Eyed and Painless. I think Listening Wind. I think of all these sort of songs filled with nuance that no one's ever heard before. But Houses in Motion is kind of a little more buried in there. It's kind of, if someone was to do an analysis, it would pair it up with sort of the filler, if you will. But when you actually listen to it and you actually get down into these lyrics, you realize how untrue that statement is. I looked at these lyrics. I read, different interpretations of them. The general consensus is it's about, kind of overwork, digging your own grave. You hear that line throughout there. You hear walking a line. You hear just kind of working yourself into a, sort of funk or sort of a creative just spout. You work so much that you don't know how to work anymore. I bet Elio felt some of that throughout this COVID year.
A little bit.
Yeah. But I really enjoy the theme of this one. I really enjoy the horns all over it. I enjoy kind of the meandering passages throughout it. I want you guys to hear this real quick. Houses in Motion.
For a long time I felt without style or grace, wearing shoes with no socks in cold weather. I knew my heart was in the right place. I knew I'd be able to do these things. As we watch him digging his own grave, it was important to know that was where he's at. Can't afford to stop. That is what he believed. He'll keep on digging for 1,000 years.
I'm walking along. I'm thinking about E10 motion. I'm walking along, just barely enough to be living. Get out of the way, no time to begin. This isn't the
Yeah, that's top tier song off Remain in Light, and often regarded as the deep cut, which just does not make sense to me. I don't know, what did you guys think?
Well, I love that song. That song is so cool. Just in how, I don't know, Andrew, correct me if I'm in the right genre here. Funky? That's pretty much a funk song? Yeah, like it's really cool. Like that whole album, they really took their musicality and like what they were doing to the next level. And I think that's why everybody thinks it's their best, because they really did take everything that they were doing before and just bring it up to another level. And like, I have wondered why people always skip that song when they talk about that album, because like it fits so perfectly with everything else there, and it's so funky, and it's just like a groovy song that you can sit there and bop your head to for the 4 minutes that song is.
I mean, it's because it's followed up by such fantastic work. I mean, the 4 songs you have before that is Born Under Punches, Cross-Eyed and Painless, The Great Curve, and Once in a Lifetime. So by then it's kind of like, what else do I need? You know?
Yeah,
but,
you're just worn out and tired by then.
yeah. But if you just listen to one more song, you realize that some of the best work on here is actually in the back half, you know, with Listening Win and the overload and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think Remain in Light is kind of a backwards album. I mean, I can't really say that because Once in a Lifetime's on there, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it too controversial to make that point? I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good track. I don't have really much to add based on what Elio said. I do like, you know, kind of the funky riff they threw in there. It kind of like how mine was a little funky, but they took it in more of a soul direction with like the horns and whatnot. This one took it in more of like a funk rock direction. And I appreciate that. They kind of have interesting ideas behind it as well. I mean, yeah, I just think it fits perfectly within Remain in Light. So, and maybe too perfectly to a point where it's almost kind of like overlooked. I don't know. But yeah, Bean's really good song. I don't have much else to add.
All right. Well, I think with that, we can go back to Elio.
All right. Yeah, so let's see. My next song, I chose I'm Not in Love, which I am forgetting which album that guy is off of. More songs about building and whatever the heck.
More songs about buildings and food.
Buildings and food. Okay. Yeah, I'm Not in Love. It starts out with a really neat guitar riff that you think it's going in one direction, and then there's a kind of like a cut. I don't think it's like a hard cut really, but like it then just the song takes on a totally different tone and a different path than what I thought it was going to be the first time I had heard this song. Kind of like the title says, it's pretty much about him not being in love. And I don't know. I think it's a good song that everybody likes to overlook, especially this album kind of seems not totally under the radar. I mean, like everybody does like the album, but I think this song off of it is kind of one that if you were to talk to somebody, they would have no idea what the hell this song is.
I mean, just going off of that, Elio, what do you think are like the 3 Talking Heads albums that everybody should know in that case?
Yeah, are you not doing like compilations? Because I was gonna say the Once in a Lifetime. I mean the
Stop Making Sense.
Stop Making Sense is I think that's the one. Like if you were gonna sit somebody down and listen to Talking Heads, that's what I would show everybody. Just because, like I said, I think it's just on another level with their energy, and because it does take all of their hits and throws them on there. But I think if you're just going off of albums, let's see. I think it'd have to be the Remain in Light, Speaking in Tongues. And then I don't know if I want to do more songs about buildings and food or Fear of Music. Either one of those are my 3 albums.
Nice. Well, I think if you got no more to say, I think we can hear your song.
Oh yeah. Let's play it.
Okay. Pretty. What is brand new? It's the way I think of you. You'll touch me in a minute, but that's not what I want to do. We are two sisters, we might never have met. We can talk forever. I understand what you said, but I'm not in love. What does it take to fall in love? Do people really fall in love?
I love that riff, man. That starting off, it's so catchy.
Yeah, so like I said, it starts out with that really cool guitar riff. I mean, the riff does continue throughout the song, but I don't know. There's always something about it that after, if you know enough about the Talking Heads, you kind of just think that that guitar riff starts playing, and I don't know. I was just expecting something different from it. I was expecting the guitar riff to kind of tone down a little bit, and they were gonna do something different. But I like that the song just kind of explodes right there. They bring in everything else. And David Byrne, his singing is right on point for it. And then with the chorus, it's really interesting how they kind of like you're kind of like that 9 or 10 with an energy, and then the chorus, it just slowly brings you down a little bit, and then they just have those cool I don't know, the cool bits where it's just like he's hitting the drums and he's saying something, it's just I don't know. I really like the energy of the song and how they decided to do like 3 different parts to the song.
I think it's interesting that you came around to this song specifically, Elio, because as a person who started on Stop Making Sense, the live album, that whole concert is known for kind of eventually building up to this big crescendo. Whereas this one is kind of the reverse. It starts out punching you right in the face and sort of winds down, comes back up, winds down. You know what I mean? Do you think that's another reason why you came around to this song, just because it's different than what you started with?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it is kind of different from a lot of other Talking Heads songs where you like it's not every Talking Heads song is like this, but a lot of them, you kind of have like this level where that's where the song likes to stay. And I mean, obviously, between the chorus and maybe some other things, like you can kind of modulate a little bit. But I think for this one, it's just like you start with that simple guitar riff where you're like, oh, that's cool, that's really neat. And then boom, everything clicks and you're brought up, and then the chorus will bring you down a little bit, and then boom, it brings you back up. And you kind of just do this up and down with it, which I just love. And I definitely think that maybe subconsciously, like you said, Mike, I probably did that, where I liked it because it is the reverse of where I start.
What about you? What do you think?
I really like this song a lot. I won't say too much about the record because I have another song from this album coming up later in my picks, but I think this song is a great riff that just punches you right in the face. A little fierce. I mean, it's not like terribly distorted or punchy, but it's fierce. It's still in a way when it opens up, and it has this great driving rhythm. And yeah, like those kind of like there's this like waxing and waning of kind of the song's energy is fantastic. And I think overall the song is just the energy of the song is just one of the reasons why I love this album. This comes off of so much, but again, I'll get more into that later. But yeah, you guys have already said pretty much everything I would say about it.
Well, yeah, I think you are next, good sir.
Sweet. Well, I have another song from Naked. Might be hearing this. Sounds like we'll be hearing a lot from this record today, and I'm more than okay with that. So I know mine before, Blind, that was pretty upbeat, generally happy sounding song overall. This one, no. Not so much. In fact, this is probably the least Talking Head song that they have in their entire discography. And of course, I'm the one who brought it here today. It's probably the most depressing sounding song in their discography too. Again, surprised that I'm the one who brings that here.
I'm sorry. I want to cut you off there because like going through all of your songs, I was like, oh, these are cool. And I think this was the last one that I listened to. I got to it. I was like, dude, what the hell, Andrew? Like, why'd you kill my buzz with this one?
Well, luckily it's in the middle, so we'll have a chance to middle of my pick. So I'll have a chance to build the mood back up from here. Talking about Cool Water, I think this is one of the last songs on the record. Yeah, it's like the second to last. And this, along with like Ruby Deer and the Democratic Circus, kind of like, hey, this is like this weird trio in my head. They're not like in order on the record, but like they're not next to each other on the record, I should say. But like those three songs are just kind of like this weird, like, oh, we're just gonna be like really dour. We kind of explore almost like a gothic kind of mood and like a depressing kind of like mood to our stuff. I mean, I guess like The Cure, but you know, I was building up steam during this point in time when Naked came out. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they're inspired by something like that. I'm not saying it sounds like The Cure, but mood wise, maybe. Yeah, it's this really slow kind of crawling song from here. It has this really cool vibe to it. I don't know. I imagine songs like this one are one of the reasons why people don't really like Naked. And again, I understand that people like to go to Talking Heads to, you know, bop around and whatnot. And Cool Water isn't exactly the song to do that, to say the very least. But I like it a lot, and I would have been interested to hear more, like an entire album that kind of sounds like this. But that's just me. But let's play it and hear it, and I want to hear what you guys think about this one.
Day by day, whistle while you work. Our backs are breaking up from hollow earth, from end to end. The noise begins in the human battle stations, and the big ones coming in. Work, 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 work till holes are filled. Work, 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 bags of
Yeah, that song is a really cool build, and you can kind of picture like someone in like an apocalypse movie, like walking from like a desecrated like church or something. I don't know. I think it's cool. You guys probably disagree, and that's okay.
No,
Uh,
definitely not. Definitely not. I think
I was
it's pretty poetic.
I was gonna say that like for me, that song, if you replaced it, David Byrne with Tom York, like I would have thought that was a Radiohead song off of maybe off of like, are you guys familiar with the album The 2 + 2 = 5, that one that came off of
A little bit.
Yeah,
Hail to the Thief, there we go.
yeah, yeah.
It honestly, like if the guitar was a little bit like toned down and didn't have like that effect on it, I would have thought this was a Radiohead song, and it's a really cool song. I mean, it does have that cool vibe. It is very cool. You could say it's like Cool Water. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I really did enjoy this song because I'm a big fan of Radiohead, and hearing that, I thought it was super cool. But that's pretty much what I got to say about it.
3 things about that. 1, love to bring you on for the Radiohead episode next semester. 2, it's interesting you make that connection because Radiohead got their band name from a Talking Heads song off of the True Stories soundtrack. So that's a cool distinction to make. And 3, like I said, it's pretty poetic that the band reaches this depressive point and experimenting with this totally different side of what their sound could be on their last record, on the B-side of their last record. It's almost like they're just, Talking Heads is poetically just an experimental band all throughout. And on this very last breath they have before breaking up, they try something completely different. It's really cool, and I like that you brought this one, Andrew.
Yeah, and you know, kind of bringing back to the point I made earlier about this kind of being like their white album. I mean, the fact that Blind and Cool Water come from the same record is something to really, I think, kind of behold. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of why I made that distinction. There's just so many different ideas to bringing on here. And you know, and Michael, you know, I'll bring up a song you brought on, I think, for our political anthems episode. You know, Nothing But Flowers, which also comes from this record, if I remember correctly. And you know, that song is kind of weird. It's not, if I remember correctly, it's not like a really like sad sounding song. It's kind of like in the middle of the road between sad and happy, but like the lyrics are about like environmental destruction basically. So I mean, yeah, I mean, they're kind of mashing a lot of different kind of like tones, you know, and moods together, and it kind of creates this weird funky thing, which is why I really like Naked. But I think I made that point enough.
I think my next song actually is from Naked as well. Yes, it is. Okay. This is a weird one, and I think we're going to breeze through this one really quick. I brought on Big Daddy, which I don't know how to talk about this because it definitely is a sugar daddy song. That is the theme of the lyrics. Every forum online will say that, but I like the instrumentals. That's about it. I think we can play it, and you guys can give me your thoughts.
She had such tiny tears, just like a Barbie doll. She likes to shop at Sears and visit shopping malls. Now she's a big mama. Tell Papa cry, 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 cry. Oh, money. Oh, money doesn't matter now. Have mercy, mercy, mercy. Daddy's going fishing now. Put the bait onto his line.
Okay, so let me explain where I'm coming from. Dude, the horns at the beginning, the click-clacking sound, that is a total callback to True Stories. The song's off there. This just sounds like it belongs in that movie. If you haven't watched True Stories, I wish Ben was here to talk about this because he could make a whole better pitch for this movie than I could. But it really is like the only way to experience that soundtrack is by watching it along with that movie. And Big Daddy, this particular song off Naked, just sounds like it belongs in that movie because of just the soundscape it creates. It belongs like you should be in Virgil, Texas, which is where the movie takes place. Elio, have you ever seen True Stories?
Nope.
Hey, dude. Hey, I'm doing a podcast. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, get lost, bro. Get out of here. No, I have not seen the movie, but damn, this is such a cool song. I mean, who cares if it's a quote unquote sugar daddy song? Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm at the point in my life, I'm old and crotchety, where it's like if I hear something good, I'm like, that's it. I like it. I'm gonna listen to it over and over again.
What do
You
you
don't
think?
need to worry about what other people think about this song.
Well, I musically, yes, Michael, I like it. I don't know if the lyrics make it a little uncomfortable, but you know, musically it's fine. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does have that harbinger of just kind of oddballness that this record has that I really like. So, yeah, another good highlight from Naked, Big Daddy. Please
Yes.
move on to that track. We'll have to hear the term Big Daddy again.
I'll go take a shower after this podcast.
That song goes out to our podcast editor, Ben Ackley. But all right, go ahead, Elio. It's back to you.
All right.
Final round
So,
of picks. Elio, go ahead. Take your swing at it.
yes. So we were talking about Big Daddy being a pimp song. I guess my song is about a woman and She Was. This is off of Little Creatures. This, I think, is the only song off of our list that will ever play on the radio. Because I've definitely heard it on the radio. And honestly, nobody can tell me any different about this song. It is a perfect little pop song that when I feel good on a summer day and I'm riding my bike or going for a walk and I put my headphones on, I'll listen to And She Was because it's super upbeat, it's super catchy, and it's really pleasant to listen to. And then if anybody cares about any sort of music theory out there, I guess this song has a bunch of weird modulation where they shift to a bunch of different keys, going from like the just a different, I don't know what they are, but they switch a bunch of different keys in this song, which makes it really weird. I think they switch like 3 or 4 times or something like that. And people think that's really cool, but honestly, it's just a good pop song. So if you want to turn it on.
And she was lying in the grass, and she could hear the highway breathing, and she could see a nearby factory. She's making sure she is not dreaming. See the lights of the neighbor's house, and now she's starting to rise. Take a minute to concentrate, and she opens up her eyes. The world was moving, she was right there with it, and she was. The world was moving, she was floating above it, and she was. And she was.
So, but this song is, if you were paying attention to the lyrics, this is a song about a woman that when she like focuses, she can levitate and she spies on her neighbors. And it's a very, very strange song. But I guess that the background is that David Byrne, I think when he was in New York or something, he met somebody. He met a woman that he called like a techie hippie, where she just did LSD all the time and thought she was like on a higher plane of existence or something. And the song, I guess, is making fun of her for it. But like I said, to me, that music is so upbeat and so catchy, and with the chorus saying it, I don't know, man. I love this song. It's so nice.
I see what you're
One
talking
thing I will
about.
say to that. Sorry, what? Do you want to go first, Michael?
Yeah, because I want to clear up what Elio was getting at with the modulation there. The overall key of the song is E major. However, the bridge and the chorus is in F major. The second bridge is in G, and then it switches to B minor and G major throughout it as well. So yeah, musically, just in terms of theory, it goes above and beyond. And as someone who comes around to like math rock and stuff like that, this song hits really hard for me. And I don't know if we can consider it a deep cut, but we'll let it slide. Don't worry about it.
We'll let it go.
I appreciate it. Thank
Really
you.
good
I mean,
song.
it's not my fault. I'm blaming you two, because Andrew, I had my 3 songs picked that I was going to send them to Andrew, and then he sent me your playlist, and I was like, really, guys? This is what you do to me? You pick every song?
Well, here it is. It only appeared 54 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the U.S. So number one.
It's in terms of, when looking at just the Talking Heads hits, this is probably the deepest cut.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but definitely
I'll take it
among Talking Heads hits. So we're gonna count it. And this is a really fun song too. Even though I have like a black soul, as everyone probably thinks that I do, people might think I'm not able to enjoy music as cheery as this, but I can. And that's definitely the term that word that first popped in my head when I heard this. It's a very cheery, happy, upbeat song. with apparently some very bizarre lyrics. So when you mentioned like spying on our neighbors, I feel like this is like a song that conspiracy theorists would take then to like talk about the talking heads predicted your surveillance state or something dumb like that. I don't know, but makes me like it even more though, just the kind of like oddballness of it. And yeah, it's another reason why talking heads are so great. They can like kind of shove these weird lyrical themes into otherwise unassuming pop songs.
Nice. Well,
And that's
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. That's why I'm drawn to this song. It's because it's such a huge pop song, and I always enjoy when a pop song puts in lyrics like this, where it's like you're like, oh wow, it's cute. It's a cute song about a girl, and then like when you're paying attention, you're like, the hell's he talking about? Like she's levitating and she's like seeing her neighbors in the backyard. And then it's even funnier when you realize it's David Byrne making fun of a hippie, which I appreciate.
Yeah, there's a song of the Counting Crows have like a song. I think it's from like the Greatest Hits compilation. They just kind of threw it on there. It's called like Einstein on the Beach, like for an Eggman, or it's like a weird title, but it's like a really fun like Counting Crows like pop song. And so you read the lyrics, and it's about like how like Albert Einstein felt like sheer guilt for like creating the atomic bomb. And there's like lyrics that are like all these shadows lined up against the wall, referring to like the ash marks of body leaves, like after like the atomic explosion. There's some heavy shit, and I love when songs kind of do that. So I agree, Elio. Anyways, to get out of that weird thing, let's go to Violet.
Yeah, I mean, shadows on the wall, man. That's fun to know about atomic bombs and what happens to people. But what is also fun is I think your next pick that you got here, Andrew.
I don't know. I'm never sure about like a lot of the things that come out of my mouth on the show, but that's okay. We're gonna go to our last song. As I mentioned earlier, it's from More Songs About Buildings and Food. Another, I wouldn't say maligned album in the Talking Heads discography, but definitely overlooked, especially when we consider like the big like Brian Eno trilogy that this band has. You know, records that are produced by legendary musician and producer Brian Eno. Or, you know, obviously it's more songs about buildings and food than Fear of Music than Remain in Light. My favorite of the three is this one, which is weird because people I think would consider this album the weakest length of those three records. And not that I'm showing shade of Remaining Light and Fear of Music, both were great records, but this is the one that I personally kind of edge out over those other two. And I don't know exactly why. My best guess is because, I mean, before this is their second album, More Songs, and before you had the title track, which is the self-titled record, Talking Heads 77, whatever it's called, and you know it's fine. You know, obviously Psycho Killer's on there, and that's a classic. But you know, looking back on it, it's not. It's really the production's really rough and not always like a cool way that like early debuts could have. It is kind of feels like it's not quite there to like meet their vision. There's a lot of like filler track songs you can easily cut. Like I don't know, like the debut is probably my least favorite Talking Heads record if I had to pick it overall, which I know might be controversial to some people. That's just how I feel. But there is still some of that kind of like early like, punk art rock charm that record has, that I will give it. And I feel like some of that carries over to this record, but it's also kind of a transition to the more polished stuff that you get with, something like Fear of Music, which obviously is what followed this record. And I think that's the reason why I really like More Songs About Buildings and Food. It kind of has this mix of like, they're starting to get polished, but not quite. So there's still some of that like early, like dirty charm that like the first record has, but you can definitely tell they're much better songwriters, much more better song crafters overall on this, and Brian Eno's influence is definitely a big mark on this. So I think for all those reasons is why I really enjoy this album. And picking a song from here, there wasn't like Find Me the Take Me to the River, or the other big hit. I think something with like Angels. I'm bad with song titles sometimes. So obviously those are big songs from this record, but picking one was kind of difficult, but I eventually settled with Artists Only. It has this kind of weird kind of rhythm to it, if I remember correctly, and it just the lyrics I want to say are about like struggling artists or over pompous, overconfident artists that really have no business being pompous or overconfident. Definitely a really really solid track that I feel is kind of skipped over sometimes. So let's hear a bit of Artists Only.
Let's go! I'm painting again. I'm painting again. I'm cleaning again. I'm cleaning my brain.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, in terms of like a soundscape that song makes, I think that's like I think of all the ones that we picked, I think that's the one that I found most interesting. Just of how I hate using this word because it kind of has like a bad connotation, but it's strange. Like it's a strange intro that's really odd, and it just creates like a cool soundscape where it's I don't know what else to say. I found it the most interesting song of any of our picks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go with you on that and say the bright guitars on this just stand out perfectly. Burns' vocals, of course, are just on point. I was actually going to pick Artists Only, Andrew, for my list before I eventually came around on a live track we'll hear in a few minutes. But if you want a more focused lyrical interpretation here, this song was written about Burns' art school days. He went to an art school in Rhode Island, I believe. And the lyrics, when he's saying, cleaning out, he's talking about his frustration of being and going through art school and basically cleaning out his brain of ideas because of such a torturing experience art school must be. But I really like this a lot because it's kind of playful in the lyrics, but it can really become an artist's anthem for how much experimentation is all over this track. And the fact that
my take on that, then my bad, everyone.
No, you're good. I think the fact that this is considered a deep cut is pretty criminal. But that would be my thoughts. I love this song. Loved it. I almost picked it. So.
All right, I think it's your turn, Michael.
Yeah, we are going to round out our picks with my last song here, which is a song a lot of people might know. It's called Drugs. This song kind of stood out on Remain in Light as being sorry, I want to double check to make sure it's on Remain in Light. No, it's not. I think it's actually on...
It's off of Fear of Music.
Fear of Music, that's right. But they played this particular version while they were touring Remain in Light. This is off the live album. This band is Talking Heads or something like that. The name of this band is Talking Heads, which is comparably to Stop Making Sense is not the famous live record. A lot of these songs are taken from different tour dates where the live record is taken from basically one concert film, right? But this particular version of Drugs, as opposed to the album version, just creates a beautiful soundscape. I mean, the story behind this song is just beautiful collaboration between Eno and David Byrne. It's the reason why the Talking Heads are going to live on for generations and generations is that collaboration between production and songwriting and musicality and lyricism. It's just all there. And this particular live version of Drugs, I think, really does it for me. So you guys can give it a listen.
Sounds like you're on drugs at some parts. Definitely, it's that is a strange song, but it's good. It's really great.
I like how they're playing around with sort of noise elements in this. I think, we're starting to really get into the CBGB era of art rock that like lives on for a long time. I mean, I don't want to say this gives me Sonic Youth vibes just for the cop out, but it really does it make you understand how this whole scene, this whole generation of musicians went above and beyond with the experimentation throughout all of their albums, whether that's from Talking Heads to Sonic Youth. All of them really are just memorable. And I think Drugs really represents that, not only for the recreational activities they probably did in the green room CBGBs, but just, making you feel that way as well, really putting you in their shoes, right?
Yeah, I think I love that you picked this song because, like you said, kind of just in terms of the sound that the song makes. I love that you have the regular music flowing throughout, but then they just put in those weird kind of peppered in odd sounds in it, which are super cool, which is just great.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like the weird rhythm to it. I think we haven't read a lot of we had some mid-tempo songs, I guess mine was kind of even a slow song, if you wanted to call it that. But yeah, I don't know. This is a really, just like I said, really odd rhythm to it. Definitely, this is actually closed out Fear and Music, correct? Might be, yeah. I mean, originally it closed out that record. It's just such an odd thing to have close a Talking Heads record, but I think it works really well. So yeah, no, it's a good live recording, good song. I don't have anything else to say.
Mike, do you know you're more of somebody who knows the music theory of it? Is it in a weird time signature or a weird key or anything like that?
I'm really not the music theory guy.
Okay, never mind then.
But I don't know. I could definitely figure that out for you. But it definitely gives that vibe too, just from how it meanders in that first part and then expands into that soundscape. It makes you feel like you're almost in a math rock jazz kind of soundscape, I guess is the best way to put it. I would love to see a music theorist or just someone that knows that a lot better, their opinion on this particular song.
Yeah, I was just curious because that song has always struck me as the one that I'm sure that they do it on a lot of different songs, but that one is just it's noticeable that it sounds different and it's got a different beat to it than what I guess American music goers would be accustomed to. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're touching on a good point just about Talking Heads in general. The way they incorporate rhythm into all of their music, kind of inspired by first, African beats, and then going to, Spanish rhythm and flamenco music in their later records. It's a band that incorporated sounds from all over the world and kind of put them in this New York art rock kind of film. It was, I can't say enough about this band, and I'm so glad we redid this episode, because now I'm going back with so much more appreciation on the story of this band, how this sound came to be developed the way that it is, and the longevity that it still has. The fact that we're talking about it in a podcast in 2021 says a lot. But yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of my closing thoughts. I guess we're getting into that section. So
I'll piggyback off of you. You were mentioning all the different styles of music and genres that they really drew from. And the thing that I've always liked is that, like you were saying, they pulled from like flamenco, the African rhythm, and kind of it seems like it's all the genres and everything that all the genres that they pulled from were rhythm forward musics, where it's obviously those, like flamenco, everybody thinks of a flamenco guitar that's out in the open, but like when you think about it, it's a rhythm, and like you put percussions behind it, where the percussion is driving what the kind of the guitar is responding to. And flamenco is also a dance, so it's like it's really with the rhythm for how people are supposed to respond to it. I think that's one of the great things about Talking Heads, is that they took those kind of things, because they're more unique to us, where if we're talking about American music, it's always, hey, it's guitar forward or it's singing forward, something like that. And Talking Heads really picked the rhythm section to really drive their music, even though the drums may not do something crazy, but they're really the ones that are really driving what everybody else is doing and bringing to the table.
Yeah. I mean, based off rhythm, it's no wonder why a lot of people have come around to sample the Talking Heads. Just looking it up real quick, you got Jay-Z, Selena Gomez, you got Arcade Fire, you got Tom Jones, CeeLo Green. Like, a lot of people come back around to this music because of the intricacies in rhythm, which I think are going to really stand the test of time. Andrew, final thoughts?
Yeah, and I agree. I hear, obviously I know a lot of people have covered this band as well. In fact, you mentioned Tom Jones. I think the Cardigans and Tom Jones did a particularly odd and not entirely great version of Burning Down the House, which you can go look up if you want, for everyone there. Although I would just strongly recommend just check out the Cardigans' entire discography instead, because they're great. But no, I think the Talking Heads are I've definitely become a much bigger fan since we first talked about them, and yeah, they're a staple. They're a staple of music and music history, and hell, I was just playing it, some Talking Heads, particularly a lot of stuff from the Can't Stop Making Sense concert film, over on YouTube. My dad has this friend over right now, and they're not like huge new wave fans. They're not like huge alternative rock fans, except for maybe some grunge from the 90s. But hell, my dad's friend was like, yeah, I love Psycho Killer. I love watching the stuff from Stop Making Sense. I think there is this accessibility, this ever present so much in any even general music fans' consciousness. So yeah, Talking Heads, good. That's what I'm gonna finish my thoughts off on.
There, my friend. Thanks so much for coming on this episode, Elio. We can move into our recommendation section, which you are all too familiar with. So I think you can go first.
Yeah, so I know that we just recommended a whole lot of music that people might not listen to, but I am going to recommend Deftones' 2020 album, Ohms, just the whole album, because one, I love Deftones. I enjoy the fact that they're still making music kind of as good as they were. All of their albums are spectacular, and this one is no different. And this one, it really kind of goes all over the place in terms of like you have some really low lows and some really high highs in terms of some slower songs. You have slower songs or songs that start slow and have a really kind of ethereal sound to them. And then you always have the awesome Deftones screaming and the super powerful riffs, which are just a million power chords, because I think that's all that the guitar player knows is just power chords. But for whatever, he can keep doing it because those riffs are heavy and they're awesome. So I think that the first song that I picked was Genesis off of the album, which is the first song. Like if you want to give us a little sample. The very first song, Genesis, like I said, it starts you off in that weird, low, ethereal place because he's literally singing about. I'm trying to think of what it. I think it's partly off of like the genesis of the universe or like genesis of life, where like there's aliens and stuff. It's a super weird song. But yeah, like you guys heard, starts super slow. It's weird, and then they just flip that switch and they go into your classic Deftones with a huge heavy riff. He's screaming about something, and it's just a perfect it's a perfect example of what Deftones brings to the table. Sure. And then I think the second song that I asked was Ohms. That one you can just play from the beginning because it sounds cool.
Can do.
They bring some badass riffs to the table. They bring some cool vocals, cool lyrics. I know, Mike, you can hear the songs pretty clearly right now, but Andrew, I know that if your audio is anything like what I was hearing, it sounded pretty garbage. Did you enjoy either of those songs? Did you think either of them were good, or do you not really?
I know. I've definitely had a good sampling of Deftones over the years, and I mean that pretty much sounds like what I would expect from the Deftones, and it's pretty awesome. I have to say, I really like the intro to Ohms. That was that was cool. I see where you're coming from, Elio.
I haven't listened.
Hey,
to it in a little.
That's Scott Stapp, so I'll give you that. It's definitely better than that.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, hey, I got the Andrew seal of approval on my music. I can die tonight and be happy knowing that I got that on it.
Something you never got when you were on the podcast.
Hey,
Never.
No, come on.
Hey, I feel your pain. Andrew,
What did you think about him, Mike?
I haven't listened to Deftones in a hot second. So, coming back to those like crushing riffs, the screaming vocals, and just everything. I mean, it's like I'm back in 8th grade again, man. And that's not a bad thing. I really do need to check this band out more. And the cover of this album got me particularly interested because I kept getting it confused for a vaporwave artist I'm really into called Dan Mason. So I accidentally put this on one day and I was like, this is not what I was looking for. But so, a surprise for sure, but a welcome one. I will say
this is trash and not the trash I'm used to. Why is this playing?
You get me, Elliot.
So, well, speaking about trash, Andrew, what did you bring us?
That's the guy who has Scott Stapp, like 5 of them behind you, Scott Stapp posters.
I have 4 signed Scott Stapp posters.
They're signed too.
They're signed.
I'm surprised he was able to understand you when you asked him to sign that. You have to talk in his language. It goes, like you have to sound like that in order for him to understand you. Haha.
Yeah.
Big joke. Anyways.
Very much.
My pick, yes. Thank you, Elio, for the warm introduction to my recommendation. Mine, equally as sludgy and noisy and abrasive and awesome as the Deftones, I would say. Milk Teeth. They were actually a 4-piece, sometimes 3-piece British, kind of punky noise rock group from I said Britain, that actually recently broke up. Unfortunately, I was just like kind of looking at their bio real quick, and unfortunately, they broke up sometime like in September of last year. They didn't say why. I'm guessing COVID, probably a good excuse as any, which is weird because they had released their second album earlier in the year. But there's certainly a lot to explore with Milk Teeth. They have two studio records plus like 4 EPs or something stupid. Like they have a lot. They still have a lot of stuff you can check out. And they for like the brief period they were active from like the mid 2010s to just last year. They I think really came to their own in something really cool. I really like this band a lot, and I don't know if I've recommended them on the show before. I might have, but I don't think. But in case I haven't, I wanted to make sure I did so before I graduated. So I'm going to play a song from, I believe, their very first EP. I'm going to fact check on air that I am right. Yes, the very first EP, Sad Sack. It's from 2015. It's the first track. It's called Vitamins. Kick it, Michael. Let's hear it. I really like the juxtaposition between like those really like silky, like whispery kind of like vocals mixed with that crushing guitar. What do you guys think of that?
I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I mean that's just a classic Andrew pick, bringing some awesome, crushing, not punk per se, but this is, I don't know what genre is this.
I don't know what.
It sounded pretty punky.
Yeah, it is. It is punky, yeah. Wikipedia says they're a punk rock band, and who am I to argue with Wikipedia? So, like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's what
They
I
wrote all my papers in college, so they're the authority.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'd say they're a satellite member of the punk genre. That's what I would say they are.
good stuff.
Do you like
Yeah,
that,
that was
Elio?
great. Yeah, no, I really liked it. That was cool. I liked them. Is their whole discography good, or is there something I should?
Yeah,
avoid?
I mean, like, their studio records, there's probably some filler here and there, but like overall, I think they're a really solid band. Yeah, really solid
All right.
stuff. So, anyways, Michael, your turn to round this off. What weird stuff have you brought to today? Is it more Steve Reich?
No, it's not more Steve Reich, I promise. But it's still equally cool. I discovered this yesterday. My Discover Weekly on Spotify was actually good for once. And it brought me this amazing Alabama-based instrumental surf rock band called Daikaiju. You'd
That
think
is the weirdest phrase I've ever heard you say, Michael.
We were just talking about trash, though, Mike.
oh no, wait until
I'm kidding.
it is so cool what they do with surf rock. It's like surf rock as if it was in like a Neo Tokyo setting, and like Godzilla was destroying everything in the background. It's so fucking cool. I won't get into the specifics of the band because I'm still getting well versed in this. I've listened to the album that this came off of called Phase 2. I think a lot of their music is meant to be sort of played against sort of a movie or a film or something like that. I bet the music videos for this band is just on point, but only 58,000 listeners on Spotify. So I don't even know if they have music videos. All I know is that you guys got to hear this song called Escape from Nebula M Spacehunter.
Dick Dale's memory lives on, ripping it in front of kaiju monsters. Yeah, that's really cool.
That was 10 out of 10. If you kind of like this, I recommend Spindrift.
Spindrift. Who are
Yes.
they? Who are they all about?
They are another instrumental band that kind of does this surf rock. The way that I got into them, I'm just trying to make sure that it is. Yes, it's all one word. The way that I got into them is they have an album called Legend of the Gun. I mean, The Legend of God's Gun. And I don't know if anybody remembers, I really like Western music and spaghetti Western stuff. And it is an instrumental album that is Western music, but is like they do surf rock stuff. And it's really cool. Some of the songs, and then they have other albums that I think if you like this song by Daikaiju, you would like Spindrift.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you. I just love the concept behind this, and like the artwork, the album artwork just fits perfectly, and literally all the songs on this record are just equally as punchy and like just experimental and awesome. So yeah, strongly recommend Daikaiju. We are nearing the end of the episode. Andrew, what do you want to do next? We can pitch next week's episode. We've been kind of on and off with episodes lately. So.
Yeah, it's been the episode's getting rough. I'm starting my first big boy job on Monday, so things will even get more hectic for me. But I still want to squeeze out a few more episodes we have this season. So far, I think we have 3 more episodes planned before the season's over. Next one being something very new for me. In fact, this is like a bit of an interesting episode because it's about not only just a genre of music, but trying to get one particular person, i.e., me, into that genre of music. Ben and Michael are gonna get me a playlist together, and we're gonna see if Andrew Mullen, in the year of our Lord 2021, can finally get fully into rap and hip hop. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really excited to see what you guys brought to the table. I've slowly been letting it come into my musical consciousness. You guys have been suggesting me some stuff I should listen to. My girlfriend's been recommending me some hip hop over the past few months. So this should be a really fun episode. Are you looking forward to it, Michael?
Of course I am. I've been looking forward to it since I was a freshman. Now I think we can end the episode. Thanks so much for coming on, Elio, man. You don't know how much it means to not only have you back on, but have you redo an episode that we love. And
eventually, Michael, I think you'll have to promise Elio eventually a Mastodon episode. I know he's been asking me for it for a little bit, so I'm sure he would appreciate that.
That was the one that I wanted to do, and I remember telling Andrew, I was like, "Oh, what about a Mastodon album?" And Andrew was just like, "No."
I never said no. I asked you several times what episodes you wanted to do, and you did not definitively say Mastodon.
Oh, you know what? The one that I really threw out there was, I think it was Tool or something, and you were just like, "No, let's not do Tool."
we did do Tool.
We did. Do
oh yeah,
Tool.
you did. You did
I
do
wasn't
Tool.
against doing Tool. I don't know.
Let's do a Creed Scott Stapp episode.
Okay, now that's the one I shot down for sure. I would have definitely shot down Creed, Scott, and Stapp. Whatever.
Okay, but I appreciate being back. Thanks for redoing this episode with me. It means a lot that you guys. God, what is it? 3 years now since I've been in school.
Scary.
3 years since I've really been.
3 years now.
Yeah, that I've been back, and I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, guys. Thanks.
Oh yeah, thanks, Elio. And with that, we can end the episode with a good old-fashioned "Good Night, Detroit."
Good night, Detroit!
Pink confetti, shotgun wedding, rocket secrets, someone shredding.